Harley-Davidson's operating income collapsed 85% in the first quarter of 2026, plummeting from $160 million to just $23 million. And the company now survives in the global midsize market only by copying a strategy from an Indian brand that outsells them 8-1. For over a decade, Harley treated its heritage like a Wall Street ATM, pouring billions into shareholder payouts, while riders under 50 walked away. The median Harley buyer in America is now over 50 years old, and the entry-level bikes that could have saved the brand were killed off years ago. Royal Enfield, meanwhile, built a global community around affordable midsize motorcycles and proved that character doesn't need a $30,000 price tag. This is the story of how the brand that once dominated motorcycling was forced to follow the playbook of the brand it never took seriously. Harley's Wall Street decay. If you want to understand why Harley-Davidson is in real trouble, don't start with the bikes, start with the money. Between 2010 and 2020, the company spent an estimated $6 to $8 billion on stock buybacks and dividends for shareholders. Research and development got only about $1.7 billion in that same decade. That means Harley sent $5 back to Wall Street for every single dollar it invested in building better motorcycles. The market cap followed the same trajectory, collapsing from around $16 billion down to under $3 billion at its worst point. Investors walked away with cash while riders were ignored, and the product lineup stood perfectly still. In January 2018, the company announced three things on the very same day. The Kansas City assembly plant was closing, which meant 800 workers lost their jobs. The dividend rose, and the board authorized a new $696 million buyback program. Those workers found out they were fired through the news, while the same company handed cash to investors. The message was unmistakable, and to the board, the factory was just a line item to erase so the quarterly numbers would look better. That same management culture produced the numbers we saw in early 2026. Operating income dropped 85% compared to Q1 of 2025, falling from $160 million down to a mere $23 million. Sales actually climbed 8% worldwide, from 31,000 bikes to 33,500, but profits cratered. That tells you exactly what is happening. Harley is discounting heavily, cutting margins, and burning cash just to keep metal moving out of showrooms. The median age of a Harley buyer in the United States is now over 50, and that number keeps climbing. Younger riders are not showing up to buy $30,000 touring cruisers. They are buying lighter, cheaper, more practical machines from brands that actually listen to what everyday riders want. The financial collapse isn't a surprise. It's the bill coming due for years of corporate neglect. But the money story only covers half the betrayal. What Harley did to its own product lineup cuts deeper, and it started with a decision that pushed an entire generation of new riders straight into the arms of competitors. The midsize vacuum Harley created. The financial betrayal is only half the story. The product betrayal is worse. Back in the 2000s, Harley actually tried to build something for new riders. The Street 500 and 750 were liquid-cooled, smaller bikes aimed at urban riders and people who wanted an affordable entry into the brand. Those bikes showed up in riding courses and commuter parking lots. They were not perfect, but they were a genuine attempt to grow the customer base. Then, Harley killed them both. The Street platform was discontinued entirely. The only so-called entry-level bikes left were the Iron 883, the Iron 1200, and the 48. Those machines cost thousands more than the Streets ever did, and they intimidated new riders instead of welcoming them. Right at the moment when Royal Enfield, Honda, Kawasaki, and KTM were proving that mid-size motorcycles could be both profitable and aspirational, Harley walked away from the segment. The 2021 Hardwire strategy made it official. Harley would chase what it called brand desirability and premium pricing instead of volume. They decided to sell fewer bikes for more money, right when the global market was shifting towards smaller, more affordable machines. That decision left a vacuum, and everyone except Harley filled it. Royal Enfield's quiet conquest. While Harley was closing factories and canceling models, a 120-year-old Indian manufacturer was about to eat their lunch. For years, many Western riders dismissed Royal Enfield as an underpowered relic with reliability issues. The criticism made sense at the time. The old bullets leaked oil, vibrated like washing machines, and needed constant attention. But the brand that riders laughed at 15 years ago is now outselling Harley 8-1. Royal Enfield's annual sales volume climbed from just tens of thousands in the early 2000s to hundreds of thousands. And by the mid-2020s, the brand was approaching 1 million units per year. Overseas sales doubled and now account for over 15% of total volume. That growth spans North America, Europe, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. Dealerships are opening in places where Harley is actually closing them. That's a massive shift for a company that was once almost entirely dependent on the domestic Indian market. The 650 twins are the perfect example of how Royal Enfield executed this strategy. Both the Interceptor 650 and Continental GT 650 launched in North America at under $6,000. That price undercuts most Japanese rivals while delivering classic styling, a parallel twin engine, and enough power for real highway cruising. Under the tank sits a 648 cubic centimeter parallel twin that produces 47 brake horsepower, which is plenty for two-up touring and comfortable overtaking on the interstate. These are not toy bikes. They're proper machines that working people can actually afford. Then there's the Meteor 350. Royal Enfield sold around 600,000 units of this single model globally as of March 2024. Think about that number for a second. One mid-size cruiser-style motorcycle moved more units than Harley's entire Asia-Pacific operation in a full year. The 2024 Himalayan 450 added liquid cooling, a full-color TFT display, and integrated navigation while keeping the bike accessible, rugged, and priced well below premium adventure bikes. It proved that adventure motorcycling doesn't require a massive engine, complex electronics, or a price tag that empties your savings account. A 2024 academic study on Royal Enfield customer satisfaction found that brand heritage was the single most influential factor in buyer loyalty. Riders described emotional attachment that went beyond horsepower figures or spec sheets. The sound of the engine, the riding clubs, the group tours, the long-distance culture. Royal Enfield riders buy into a lifestyle that includes weekend mountain runs, customization meetups, and cross-country road trips organized through official channels. If you have ever been around Harley culture, that description should ring a bell. It mirrors the Playbook Harley used to own, except Royal Enfield rebuilt it around bikes that cost a fraction of a big twin. India, where Harley admitted defeat. Nowhere is this battle more brutal than in India, the world's biggest motorcycle market by volume, and the place where Harley had to admit defeat. Harley first entered India as a premium import brand with big displacement cruisers and touring bikes. High import duties and sky-high prices meant that owning a Harley was out of reach for almost everyone. The product lineup was also poorly suited to Indian roads, traffic, and the way people actually use motorcycles in that country. In 2020, Harley shut down local manufacturing and scaled back operations in India. That retreat was public and humiliating, a surrender from the most important motorcycle market on the planet. The brand that survived 2 world wars, the Japanese invasion of the 1970s, and near bankruptcy in the 1980s, couldn't make India work. The response was the Hero MotoCorp partnership. Hero would develop, manufacture, and distribute Harley-branded motorcycles using its massive Indian dealer network. Harley got to keep the logo and the marketing. Hero did the actual engineering and production. The result is the X440. It's a 440 cubic centimeters oil-cooled single, producing about 27 brake horsepower and 38 newton meters of torque, paired with a 6-speed gearbox. Seat height sits at 805 millimeters, and ground clearance is 170 millimeters, which tells you the engineers built it for both urban commuting and imperfect road surfaces. Pricing at launch ranged from roughly 2.29 to 2.69 lakh rupees, depending on trim. The natural rival is the Royal Enfield Meteor 350. That bike delivers about 20.2 brake horsepower from its 349 cubic centimeter single, tuned for relaxed low-rev cruising. Its ex-showroom price sits around 1.98 lakh rupees, which undercuts the X440 by a wide margin. Royal Enfield also carries decades of cultural weight in India. The Meteor is a statement that middle-class Indian riders have already embraced. Combined sales of the X440 and the Hero Maverick 440 crossed 12,000 units by January 2025. That's respectable for a new entry in a crowded market. But Royal Enfield sells hundreds of thousands of 350 cubic centimeters bikes in India alone. Harley is now trying to beat Royal Enfield on Royal Enfield's home turf, using a bike built by someone else at a higher price, with none of the local cultural connection. When a rider walks into a Hero dealership to look at the X440, they're not entering a Harley temple. They're looking at a product built by the same company that makes commuter scooters. The badge on the tank is the only thing connecting it to Milwaukee. The uncomfortable truth: Harley is copying the Playbook. And here is the part that should make every Harley loyalist uncomfortable. Harley is now preparing the Sprint 440 Cruiser, expected to launch in 2026. That's another mid-size play built on the same logic as the X440. Smaller engine, more affordable, aimed at markets where big twins don't sell. It's exactly the kind of motorcycle that Royal Enfield has been building successfully for 15 years. The strategy is unmistakable. Classic styling, accessible ergonomics, community building, and mid-size engines at prices that ordinary riders can manage. Royal Enfield built this approach from the ground up. Harley is scrambling to bolt it onto a brand that was constructed on the exact opposite idea: expensive, heavyweight American exclusivity. The X350 and X500 raise the same question from a different angle. Those bikes are built in China on platforms that share clear DNA with certain Benelli models. Study the frames side by side and the relationship is obvious. They're Harleys in branding more than in engineering. The numbers tell the full story. Harley sold 4,000 motorcycles across all of Asia-Pacific in the opening 3 months of 2026. Royal Enfield's annual global volume is approaching 1 million units. The scale gap is staggering and it's not closing. The brutal truth is that Royal Enfield did not partner with Harley, and Harley did not acquire Royal Enfield. Instead, Royal Enfield proved that mid-size, affordable, emotionally resonant motorcycles are the future of the global market. Harley is being pushed down a path that Royal Enfield already paved, and the Bar and Shield has no choice if it hopes to stay relevant to riders outside North America. What comes next? Harley's North American sales are up for now, and that's keeping the lights on. But the global future is mid-size, affordable, and community-driven. That's Royal Enfield's world, not Harley's. If Harley wants to reach riders under 50 in 10 years, it will need to keep swallowing its pride and building bikes that ordinary people can actually own and ride. That's the exact philosophy Royal Enfield never abandoned. The rescue isn't a merger, a partnership, or a buyout. It's a lesson Harley never wanted to learn. Drop a comment if you think the Sprint 440 can actually win back younger riders, or if Harley is already too far behind. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more.